But even if thou hast vanquished me, as true darkness, I shall return to this world someday. Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another theory video. I haven't done a theory video in a long time, and this is one I've wanted to tackle for a very long time. Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 was one of the most ambitious Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows that we ever got, as it tried to incorporate elements and characters from all four previous shows that came before it. Zarc ended up being the final villain of Arc 5, a demonic, draconic being that was the original incarnation of Yugioh, Yugioh, and Yuri. But Zarc wasn't always this way. In fact, he used to be a pro-duelist who just wanted to make the crowd smile, very similar to the driving motivations of Yugioh, the main character of Arc 5, and one of his four split personalities. So what exactly drove Zarc to madness? Well, in the show, we see him become corrupt due to the audience's craving for more brutal and violent duels. But what if I told you there was something else lurking in the darkness the entire time that accelerated the corruption of the once honorable Zarc? That's right, this is my theory on how Darkness, the final villain of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, was actually the secret villain of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. I hope you all enjoy. To start, I think it's important that we go back to the last time we saw Darkness, which was the third to last episode of GX. After an intense duel against Judai in which Judai was victorious, the hood around Darkness's head was unveiled, which showed a demonic, skeleton-like creature. Now, I personally have always viewed Darkness as the devil of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. I think that's pretty obvious as to what they were going for here with the way his design is. He drags down all of the other students to their own personal hellscape, and Judai is the only one left standing in his way. Now, Judai is thankfully able to overcome this world-ending threat by not succumbing to Darkness and defeating him in a duel, but Darkness leaves on a very chilling note.
勇気10代、カードの誠を知り、魂の自由を知る者よ。だがたとえ我を倒そうと、我は真実の闇なり、いずれ再びこの世界によみがえる。
Darkness promises to return to this world, claiming that the only reason Judai was able to defeat him is because he knew the truth of the cards. This could be in reference to how closely Judai was connected with Yubel, a spirit partner who was certainly vital in assisting him picking up the win against Darkness. Judai then says something very, very interesting. He tells Darkness that as long as duelists are here that believe in their potential, he won't be showing up for a real long time. This line always fascinated me because Darkness certainly foreshadows returning, and Judai doesn't fully dismiss this, as he only states as long as a certain condition is met, Darkness probably won't be able to return to the world of the living. Now, what's even more interesting about this is something Darkness says earlier in the duel. Some of you super OG fans of my channel might remember this video, but it's a theory video I made a long time ago in which Darkness seems to accurately predict things that would happen in the following shows. He talks about a single card creating the universe, which is a massive plot in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. He talks about unstoppable war, which can be a reference to Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and he also seemingly shows Judai a destroyed future which looks extremely similar to the Mech Lord Genocide future from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Like, it's absolutely insane looking back on this, how much Darkness gets right. So he gets all these predictions right about future shows, and we're just supposed to ignore his final words as a hollow threat? I think he knew he would be able to return in one way, shape, or form and attempt to send humanity into its downfall once again, and I think that happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. The condition for Darkness to revive, according to Judai, is that as long as duelists believe in their potential, he won't be able to show up. There are multiple things that I believe alludes to an external presence being involved in the Zarc storyline. For starters, let's take a look back at the past. The big problem that almost led to the world's destruction was Akabaleo incorporating real solid vision with duel monsters. This led to actual destruction on the dueling field, and eventually led to Zarc badly injuring one of his opponents. The audience had a very normal reaction to this, and cheered like crazy people at the injury of another duelist. You know, normal, standard Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Zarc eventually had no opponents left and decided it was time to start attacking random people in an effort to try and destroy the world. Seems pretty extreme. Akabaleo even refers to him as the devil named Zarc. Now, admittedly, there are slight variances in the goals between Darkness and Zarc. Darkness wanted to pull the entire world down into his realm, while Zarc just wanted to destroy the world. However, Darkness's plan had already failed during the events of GX, and him using Zarc as a new means to achieve that goal makes a lot of sense. Zarc became corrupt incredibly quick and merged with his 4 dragons. While you could certainly blame the dragons in the audience, I think it's very important to remember Darkness's powers in GX. He was able to give off fake illusions that seemed real to people, conjuring their deepest fears in order to make them fall into despair. Darkness even states that if the duelists had continued to keep light in their hearts, then his world would not have had a chance to rise up, and the only reason he was able to rise up is because a majority of duelists' hearts had become stained by darkness. Zarc was clearly stained by darkness throughout these duels, and I believe that's what allowed Darkness to rise once again. Much like he used Fujiwara Yusuke as his primary subject in GX, Zarc was the primary subject in Arc 5, only this time, Zarc was a much more stronger, more terrifying duelist than Fujiwara ever was, and perhaps his strength is the reason why Darkness was never able to formally appear in the show. We saw on numerous occasions that Darkness had the powers to corrupt actual cards. He even says that feelings of negativity in the cards is what gives him power. So I propose this. Darkness realized the potential of Zarc, and thanks to Zarc naturally becoming obsessed with stronger and more powerful duels, he decided to influence the 4-dimensional dragons. This is ultimately what accelerated the process to help give Zarc the strength and will to merge with the 4 dragons to become Supreme King Zarc. It's also fitting, isn't it? Darkness was defeated by a character who was a Supreme King in GX, and now the next character that Darkness gets involved with takes on the naming mantle of Supreme King. I also think there are a couple of different points throughout Arc 5 that support an external creature being involved. One of them is right after Yuya's duel with Miru. A skilled fortune teller tries to see what Yuya's future will bring, in which a dark orb forms within the crystal ball and straight up shatters it. Now, whether you believe this theory or not, that's still some great foreshadowing right there. This could just be a reference to how bad things will get for Yuya by the end of the show, but I always found it interesting that a darkness envelops within the crystal ball. And then we get to episode 46, a little deeper into the tournament during the standard arc. Miru herself tries to peer into Yuya's soul to see what's going on, and here's what she says.
どうした?
何が見えたの?
針の中に2つの心が。
2つの心?
いいえ、2つだけじゃないわ。その奥にまるで2つの心を覆い尽くすような何かが。
The first 2 souls are most likely Yuya's soul and Yuto's soul, as Yuto has become one with Yuya by this point in the show. But that 3rd soul is very fascinating to me. It literally looks like the same black aura that poisoned the souls of the students in GX. I know the obvious answer is the 3rd soul is Zarc, but even if it's supposed to be Zarc, it's hard to deny the parallels between how both of these forces work. Even when we see the U-Boys later on in the show, show, at times there is this twisted face that shows up that always rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I know, again, it's probably supposed to be Zarc, but doesn't this just seem like there is a different force at play here? We know legacy characters appeared in Arc 5, and even though they were slightly different, who's to say Darkness would not have been able to travel to this dimension or timeline? It's clear Darkness has the ability to travel between multiple dimensions, as he is from a totally different world in GX. One last piece of evidence that I want to discuss that I believe supports the theory of Darkness being behind Zarc's corruption comes from the parallels in how both villains use despair and negativity as their primary weapon. In GX, Darkness explicitly states that despair is the fuel that allows him to grow stronger. He thrives on the darkness in people's hearts, using it to manipulate their emotions and actions. Similarly, Zarc's descent into madness is fueled by the audience's collective bloodlust and the increasing negativity surrounding dueling in this time. Darkness is shown to manipulate individuals by amplifying their inner turmoil and driving them to extremes. A prime example is Fujiwara Yusuke, whom Darkness completely consumes and uses as a puppet to further his goals. Fujiwara starts as a relatively normal individual, but becomes entirely lost to despair. Zarc's transformation mirrors this. He begins as a well-intentioned duelist who wants to make people smile, but ends up losing himself to the hatred and malice of the crowd. The victims' transformations are very rapid and extreme. While the audience's reaction to Zarc's duel plays a role, it's plausible that an entity like Darkness used this negativity to accelerate Zarc's corruption. Even more compelling is the fact that Darkness doesn't just manipulate people, he can manipulate reality itself. In GX, Darkness creates a twisted, alternate reality where people are trapped in their own despair-filled nightmares. The eerie parallels to the Arc 5 dimension split are hard to ignore. After Zarc's corruption, the world is fractured into 4 dimensions. This act of shattering a unified world into pieces fits Darkness's plans of dismantling order and dragging the world into chaos. Also, let's revisit Zarc's ultimate goal, fusing the 4 dimensions into one. This ambition eerily aligns with Darkness's endgame in GX, where it sought to drag the entire world into one singular realm of despair. Both villains desire to impose their vision of a unified existence, one devoid of individuality, hope, or light. This shared desire to erase the distinctions between worlds, whether through dimensional fusion or consuming reality into a void, is another strong indicator that Darkness may have had a hand in influencing Zarc's actions. Darkness thrives on despair, and Zarc became the ultimate manifestation of despair and destruction in Arc 5. Even if Darkness was not explicitly present in the show, which obviously he wasn't, I believe he was the secret villain of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. His influence subtly guided Zarc's path, turning him into the perfect vessel to once again threaten humanity. Darkness was also an arbitrator of the future. He knew about the Numeron Code before we did. He knew about the Mechlor genocide before we did. So why should we not believe him when he told us he would be back? Whether it's through direct intervention or corrupting the dragons themselves, I feel there is enough suggestive evidence and parallels between the two that Darkness and Zarc are very closely linked. And guys, that about wraps it up. That is my theory on Darkness being the secret villain of Arc 5. Let me know what you think about this theory in the comments below. Do you think Darkness could have had an influence in the events of Arc 5? Or do you believe that this theory is just crazy? Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.